Hello everyone. Notice anything different? Yes, I am right now in the Chennai airport. As many of you know, or if you didn't know, Chennai is not my hometown. My hometown is Tirunelveli, but I live in Hyderabad. So I am actually traveling from Hyderabad to Tirunelveli, and I had a layover in Chennai. So I thought, okay, I have this time, so I'll just record this video. Because once I go home, it's actually a family event. So because of that, I'm not going to get time for the next 3 days. So yeah, hustle culture. I'm finding a spot within a half an hour layover to finish recording this. So I legit have like 40 minutes, I guess. So yeah, let's get started. First thing first, I know I just uploaded a video on the Canadian GP. I did a lot of big picture discussions, mostly all the driver and race related stuff. But there are plenty of other little things like that happen. For example, that hedgehog or whatever that animal was, which got hit by Alex. That was a very unique thing that kind of ruined the whole weekend. There was also like little Superman stunt type martial events like that keeps happening. See, these are very tiny fun moments, but they are not big or significant enough moments to be spoken about. And even in the previous video, even when there are significant things to talk about, it takes so much time to talk about it. So last video was half an hour. So I thought maybe I will do two videos, and I want to call this the moment you may have missed or something along those lines, so that, this is the follow-up video. If there are any big events that happen like crashes or DNFs or, the podium places, all of that discussion will happen in the other video. These are all the topics that we're going to discuss, which are not the big topics, but mostly like fun stuff, memes. And I also want to do a separate video for the Q&A, so I'm going to add that to this video. So this video is about the moments that you may have missed and the Q&A for Canadian GP. Okay. Okay, I want to start talking about one of the most underrated driver and underappreciated team performance from Canada, which is Alpine, specifically Colapinto. See, as you know, this is like a sprint weekend, which means there is only one practice session, right? So there is the sprint qualifying, sprint race, and the main qualifying, main race, right? Colapinto, the minute he got out on the track in practice, his car had an issue, even in the out lap. Okay, the man didn't even finish one lap of practice. He didn't have any practice, zero practice, and he finished in points. And not just any points, his career best P6. I know between P5 and P6 there was a huge gap, and obviously there were two McLarens who did horribly, like badly, and then George also DNF. So obviously podium paces, but then this guy finished P6 and he was in points. And not just that, over the last entire year, we knew and we saw how strong Gasly was. Okay, in this weekend, he actually outperformed Gasly twice in qualifying, both in the sprint race and in the main race, right? I know Gasly got into points in the main race, but he was still behind Colapinto, right? So we had that Jack Doohan versus Colin Pinto debate last season, right? Because if you watch Drive to Survive, you must have seen Colin Pinto got like politically involved, and Argentina was behind him, and Jack Doohan never got to enjoy his all of that. So we always had that doubt whether Colin Pinto deserved the seat or not. But yeah, this was a weekend that he did so well, so unique, so different, and underrated performance. I thought we should start with that. And speaking of Alpine, I do want to mention about the Gucci partnership that just got announced, okay? Gucci Racing, okay, besides the fact that anything Gucci is ugly in my eyes, okay, I'm happy at the fact that luxury brands are not only just sponsoring like personal wear and personalities, but they are also sponsoring actual team. So this is not just a clothing sponsor, it's actually a title sponsor, right? It is Gucci Racing kind of a thing. So I don't know how the nitty-gritties are going to be. I know it is just the first announcement. We will wait and see how they execute this, but that's actually a big deal. Why? Because Alpine gets money. That's all that matters. Okay, I just hope that they don't go away from the pink and blue nice livery to a poop colored brown color Gucci livery. I just hope that doesn't happen. But other than that, I'm happy that Alpine is getting money. As long as the poop brown color is not there, I'm happy. Another thing a lot of people have asked me in the questions, and we do want to talk about, is the Mercedes compression ratio and the engine ban. There are a lot of things being shared online, okay? Ban is a very strong word, and most of the articles that I have personally seen and read are all clickbait articles. They use the word ban very loosely. So here is exactly what is officially reported, what we officially know in what capacity, and I will give you a rundown of things. Okay, compression ratio is the ratio of when the cylinder and the piston, right, in the engine, the ratio between the highest volume versus the lowest volume, right? When the piston goes up to goes down. So basically, it is a compression ratio is the measure of how much the piston travels and how much gap is there at the top, right? It is expected to be 16:1. Okay. That is the standard. All engines were supposed to have it. It has to be capped at 16:1. Okay. What happened is Mercedes designed an engine where the compression ratio, even though it is 16:1 at room temperature, engine obviously works at a different temperature, right? Because engines get hot. So basically there was a little bit of a change in compression ratio. So when the engine is actually fired up, the compression ratio is expected to be 18:1. Okay. So because of that increase in compression ratio, it also gives additional horsepower. Basically, it is the higher the compression ratio, the better. But if it is too high, engine will break. Okay. There is going to be a limit there, but 18 is basically better. That's all you need to know. Okay. So this loophole, why is this a loophole? Because the engine is being measured in room temperature, right? The FIA tests all of these engines, right? It's measured in room temperature, but it is actually in working conditions, it is 18:1. In room temperature, it is 16:1. So this loophole, Red Bull and Mercedes seem to have exploited. Red Bull to a lesser extent, but mostly Mercedes, okay? Everyone protested. Every other team which did not have this protested. And FIA interfered, and they said, okay, going forward, we are going to change the way we measure things. So we are going to measure the compression ratio at room temperature as well as at 130 degrees Celsius. Okay. Why 130 degrees Celsius specifically? So in an engine, because there is petrol or the fuel that is burning, right, in a combustion engine, it goes anywhere from like upwards of 700, 800 degrees Celsius, much higher also, but exhaust gases is also gets very heated up. Okay, but the engine complex, the whole mold of the engine, right, it is made out of metal which can withstand heat, and it can dissipate heat faster, all of that. So that engine while working gets up to 120 to 130 degrees Celsius. Okay, so that's the reason that number was specifically chosen, and we are going to measure, FIA is going to measure compression ratio at 130 degrees Celsius. Now obviously Mercedes pushed back. Why? Because just because everybody else protested, they have come up with an idea. While yes, it is a loophole, but whose fault is that? The FIA didn't make it very clear in the rules, right? So why does Mercedes have to get penalized for that? So because of that loophole, Mercedes was given time, not Mercedes, every engine manufacturer was given time till June 1st to figure this shit out. Okay, so after June 1st is when the new kind of testing will take place, which is both room temperature testing and at 130 degrees Celsius, right? So the expectation is every team will figure out their compression ratios and make sure their engines comply with this rule before June. Basically, yes, we know engine Mercedes power unit has been phenomenal. So a lot of people have are saying that it is because of the compression ratio that they are having such good pace, and they need to fix it by June. And now that June has come, this engine is not allowed anymore. So a lot of people are expecting them to lose races or not be as fast. See, those are all speculations. Still, here is what is actually factually reported, right? We don't even know if Toto is exploiting that loophole or not. Chances are they may have fixed it in the beginning races also, or they may have fixed it a different engine, but you cannot swap engines just like that, in the middle of, when you change an engine, it is counted as an engine part, right? It's a power unit part. So there is so many complications and intricacies to it. It is not like Mercedes's engine gets banned from next race onwards or nothing like that. We just are going to see a new change in the way engines are measured, especially the compression ratio is measured, and teams will have to comply. If the compression ratio is beyond 16:1 at 130 degrees Celsius, then FIA will disqualify that engine. Mercedes has to go back to the drawing board. Now consider this also. Mercedes isn't making just their own engine. They are giving that exact same engine to 3 other companies. Why would they give a faulty engine to all 3 other companies if the engine doesn't comply with the rules of the sport, right? So there is a lot more intricacy. See, we don't know quite a lot of this. See, in the end of the day, we are all sitting so far away from all of the action, and we also hear reports, right? But the problem is a lot of people share rumors and gossips as reports, right? So that is why I am saying, don't believe everything you see online yet. Yes, in Mercedes engine is not banned, doesn't mean George Russell is going to start losing or anything. We just have to wait till Monaco and see what happens, okay? Williams, I've already spoken about Williams in the weekend preview, as well as some other places as well. Williams are not where they are expected to be, mainly because they are overweight, and because of one issue, a delay in coming to shakedown and then eventually to testing. I think they've just figuring stuff out. Again, this season is not 5 races or 6 races, it is 22 races, right? So we are barely 1/4 into the season, right? So there is plenty of room for them to catch up, improve, stabilize, and all of that. But as far as Sainz and Albon are concerned, see, they are amazing drivers. They have not gotten the car to even showcase a little bit of their power, right? So both Sainz and Albon, I don't think they are thinking about winning or getting onto the podium. They are thinking, how much data can we gather? What are the changes that we are making to the car, and is that getting reflected? Are we making the changes in the positive direction? That is probably what Sainz and Albon's job description is at the moment. So I don't think they are doing good or bad. I think they are just in a race of their own, which is to develop the car. I don't think it's fair for us to see. I don't think it is fair for us to compare the potential of Albon or Sainz. Yes, we can compare Williams to Aston Martin and all of the other teams, but as drivers, they have potential, but they don't have the car to do anything special. Melinda asks an important question, asks if Kimi is adopting faster due to the modern simulator gap. Actually, this is a very, very good question, and the answer also isn't very black and white. In fact, the culture of learning the track in the simulator has existed earlier, like Alonso and Lewis Hamilton have been doing since the 2008-9 era, okay? These days, though, the simulator setups have evolved to a point where you can actually make setup changes in the simulator, run it, and then adopt it to the actual car, right? Set it up in the real life. With Kimi, I am not sure if he's better than any of the other rookies, first of all. Why? Because none of the other rookies are in equal machinery to be compared, right? For example, if you take Gabby, for example, he was the F2 champion. Man can drive, okay? That's one thing. Second, if you take Ollie replaced Sainz for a race, okay? Man had zero experience ever in a Formula 1 car. He came into the weekend and scored points with a Ferrari, okay? The fact is, all of these rookies are, technically they are not rookies. Only Arvid Lindblad is a rookie, a technicality, but I get where you're coming from, right? I don't think anybody is uh, getting the better out of the simulator, especially when it comes to Kimi and the other younger drivers. I don't see that as an issue, but I see a bigger issue, which is what happened with Lewis, right? Lewis threw away all his simulator setups and experimenting with all of that, and he came and said, I'm going to go by feel. And look, the first weekend he does that. I think this is the second weekend he does that, but he does better than Charles Leclerc, right? Basically, there is also that correlation between simulation and real life. Like what happened in the simulator, is it translating more accurately in real life, right? So I think the broader question is how much each of the team's simulator and their setups translating to real life feedback, right? So that is what is important. But that's actually a good question, very good question, because there is no right answer here. It could be because Kimi is much better at adapting. We can't say for sure, right? So let me know in the comments if you have tried sim racing at all. Please join in the conversation. I actually feel like this is a good conversation for me and my friend Aditya Dubey. Adi Place, you guys might know. Another big question that is being asked is it Ferrari's turn to win in Monaco? See, the way Monaco works is it is not a high-speed track. Okay, it's a street circuit. It is a lot of turns. It's a lot of corners. You carry high speed into the corners, but they are not. It's not like a long straight kind of a thing where you go full throttle, right? There are people. I think it was Ollie who did an entire lap without even going full throttle, right? So Monaco is very different, unique. You cannot overtake in that track. It is actually a shitty track for a Formula One car at the moment, or rather the Formula One car of the modern 21st century does not belong in that racetrack because it is too wide, its turning circle is too big and all of that. But the race is boring because chances are the same order the qualifying starts. If there is no crashes, no tire strategy changes, the same order you will finish. What is important is qualifying, right? Now that straight line speed is not the big deal, whoever has a good downforce, whoever has good setups and low center of gravity and can turn the car properly, they are the ones who will end up doing better in qualifying. I remember Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso going at it in Monaco a couple of years back, while Fernando Alonso was on provisional pole and Max took it from him. Hopefully Ferrari does well because Ferrari's lack of straight line speed, in fact lack of straight line speed for most of the teams is a disadvantage for every other track, but in Monaco it doesn't matter, it gets neutralized, right? So obviously looking forward to Monaco. Will Ferrari win? That is something that we just have to wait and see, because you guys know which team that is, right? It is Ferrari. There is a reason there are so many memes about that team, okay? You never know what will happen with Ferrari. You have to expect the unexpected with Ferrari. This is another question that got asked a couple of times. Why did George and Kimi not get penalized when they cut corners? Okay. Also, the same lines. Why, like when Kimi was complaining in the sprint, did he have the corner? Was he entitled to the corner? Right. A couple of things. Okay. There is something called as racing incident. Right. Racing incident is sometimes when a crash happens in the start of the race, or when there is wheel-to-wheel action and something happens. Right. Something that the driver could have avoided, or something that is happening between two drivers while actual racing, but it doesn't put somebody else in danger or something. There is something called as a racing incident. Basically, there is no written concept. It is just a steward's point of view, right? If there are two people racing really hard, if someone pushes off and you take avoiding action and you go, it is not technically cutting a corner. When is a corner cutting serious is when you cut the corner and overtake someone, or you gain some significant advantage in lap times, right? So that is when it becomes a problem. But when hard battles, if someone pushes them off the road, or if you're trying to squeeze your car into a gap where there is the track is not enough, and then you bail out and you go through the grass and all of those will not be penalized, because in most cases when you go off the track into the grass or into the gravel, it slows your car automatically, right? So you're anyways losing time by trying to cut the corner, right? So you lose grip, your tires will, you have wheel spin and all of that. So definitely that is not something that is good for the driver. So that's the reason why they don't get penalized. But in Kimi's case also, like when he cut the corner and he overtook George off the track, he was asked to give the position back. And Kimi obviously complained, oh, he pushed me, then I'm entitled to the track. See, the thing is, from a driver's point of view, it is very difficult to judge whether he was entitled to the track or not. The minute it goes to the steward's investigation, they are going to look at multiple angles, frame by frame by frame, and they are going to then decide whether it was an advantage, the overtake happened legally or illegally, all of that, right? That comes with a huge penalty, which is 10-second penalty, right? It's better to give the position back and be within 1 second of the lead driver than to take an overtake and then get a 10-second penalty, right? So that is the reason why drivers don't even debate, right? When the team tells them give the position back, they give it back. So here's the thing, guys. I know a lot of you asked. I will try and put all of your questions, all of your names in the sides here, all of the questions that you asked. But a lot of people asked questions about George versus Kimi, Lewis, hammer time. There were people who asked about McLaren and their tire strategies, and George Russell and his fine. There are people who spoke about Max Verstappen and Red Bull, are they back? All of that, right? So these are topics that I have already covered, but thank you so much for asking these questions. These are topics that I have already covered in the previous video, right? So I'll say if your question is not answered today, chances are it was already answered before. Also about Hadja's penalties, silver wars, will Aston do a comeback? All of these I have answered like in the previous video, right? Questions about the formation lap, how luck is for Kimi, is Mercedes sabotaging George? No. But again, yeah, all of these questions I had answered in my previous video only. So I've tried to answer the other unique questions also in this video. But thank you so much for taking the time out and asking all of these questions. It gives me content to make videos. I will share a bunch of my favorite memes as well, right? Going forward, I think you all should send me memes also, so that we can discuss the memes also here. But right now, I am going to my hometown, Tirunelveli. I shall go home and I'll edit this video and I'll upload it maybe by Friday. And then we shall catch up over the weekend for our Monaco weekend guide, and then I'll probably post a couple of reels about Monaco as well. So thank you so much. Stay subscribed. It is because of people like you I am feeling motivated to even make a video sitting in an airport, right? Because when you leave comments, when you watch the video, the metrics show, and it makes me feel happy that I am doing this, right? So thank you so much for all the subscriptions and the likes and the comments and everything till now. I shall get I shall get back to you all with hopefully the next video will be from my studio. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, guys. See you all. Peace.